All right, you're watching Breakfast Central. Thank you so much for staying with us on this side of Africa. We are broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. And we're thanking you for joining us. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on all socials. We are at News Central TV. Myself, Joe Hansen, alongside Olive, will be bringing to you the top stories, which comes up right now.
Indeed, we will. And we're heading over to South Africa, where there have been more developments in the country's ongoing quest to tackle state capture and corruption. Now, this conversation has been happening for quite a while. Now, for the last 4 years, there's been a long-running commission into the allegations of state capture and corruption in public organs, with more than 300 witnesses being called. At the end of last week, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa received the fourth installment of the reports with recommendations based on the commission. This latest installment of reports reveals explosive details of state capture at the country's electricity provider, its national treasury, as well as corruption scandal involving suspended ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule.
Well, we've looked at the state capture story as well. Is one story that everyone is talking about here. And the focus on South Africa, indeed, is what we are looking at this morning as well. Well, joining us this morning, let's see if we definitely can get connected with our man, South African political analyst and author, Dr. Ralph Mathika. He joins us via telephone conversation. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Ralph. Well, very briefly, give us the highlight package of these reports. What are some of the most explosive allegations that has come out to the fore?
Good morning to your viewers in Nigeria. This is a very interesting development. It is the fourth report that we're seeing from the mega corruption investigation in South Africa. One could say, when we are talking about state capture investigation, it is actually the biggest single investigation into corruption in South Africa, where we're looking at wider procurement expenditure. So the latest report actually even goes to say that some of the deputy ministers that are serving in cabinet their position needs to be considered, where President Ramaphosa has been asked to remove the deputy minister. But it also points to the ANC, the Governing African National Congress, that actually, when all of this happened, the ANC was in charge of government and the party was asleep. What went on in government, there was no way that the party to have been active while that was.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Now, all four state capture reports, they run into thousands of pages. For outsiders, help us understand, what does this fourth state capture commission report actually tell us? What does it tell us about the state of the public service in South Africa?
It actually, the whole report just paints how South Africa's public procurement, public resources were actually compromised by the Gupta family in association with the former President Jacob Zuma, who was the leader of the ANC by then and the president by then. And the report is not sophisticated in a sense that one needs to struggle to understand it. It is very clear. It lays it there how public procurement expenditure on South Africa's power generation, Eskom, the funds were plummeted, procurement of coal, all the wasted expenditure. It details decisions that there was no way that they were meant to serve the public, but it was meant to serve President Jacob Zuma, his loyalists within the party and the Gupta family. That's how the story is. What we are looking at now, because we have known the allegations for many years in South Africa through the media. Of course, now they are much more, they carry more weight because they come from the Commission of Inquiry. The expectations now are what is going to happen actually. The question is what is going to happen. Are we going to see people being arrested, or is it just going to be one of those investigations where there are no consequences?
All right. Anyway, are there any concrete recommendations of charges that need to actually be looked at right about now, especially looking at the fact that the capture is one that everyone is indeed talking about? Are there any recommendations of charges that need to be followed up, and will those actions be taken? What do you think?
There are certain recommendations that go to how decisions are actually being made in government. The Chief Justice, the chair of the commission, that is the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, has actually made it very clear that when it comes to the governance of state-owned entities, such as the big companies that are run by government, your electricity generating Eskom, Transnet, which is the biggest, one of the biggest port authority in the region. The recommendation was that government need to think differently on how they appoint people who serve on those boards, because the board collapsed, compromise decisions were made. So those are far-reaching institutional recommendations that I think that government will also need to go deeper into the report beyond the initial shock reaction and look into some of the institutional arrangements that need to be done. But also there are direct recommendations about prosecution, about the removal of people from office. That is very clear. There is a recommendation of prosecution of the former directors and executives who serve at the electric generation company, Eskom. And there are even more further indication that the commission is saying it was not happy with how it went on certain investigations. They would want to see further investigations being taken by other authorities, including the police services and the prosecution, to take their course. So it's very clear on what ought to happen. The only thing is, will the politicians do it? That's the big question.
Okay, Ralph, thank you very much for that very clear explanation. I think what we would like to know is, where do we go from here? What happens next?
Indeed, what happens next? I mean, there is this reluctance on the side of government, because this is politics. I mean, a lot of people who are implicated are still in charge. They are still politically in charge. So what that means is non-government organizations often try to push for investigations, they push for justice. We are going to see a lot of that pressure from civil society, which I think is where I think action will most likely be triggered.
Quite interesting and very, very informative there. Thank you so much, Ralph, for bringing us with the updates this morning concerning South Africa's state capture.